Android 5.0 Lollipop brings with it a lot new features and functionalities, and it just looks nicer. But that's not my favorite part. I'm Joe Levi for Pocketnow. My favorite part about Android Lollipop, believe it or not, is the setup process. The first thing you're going to notice is what a beautiful starting screen this is. This is the welcome screen that everybody's going to get as soon as they power on their Android-powered device running Lollipop. It's got a nice welcome message, and of course you can come in and change what language and locale you want, and it changes the languages right there as you'd expect it to. I'm going to keep it at United States English. If we needed to at this point, we could make an emergency phone call. We don't need to. Let's continue with the setup. From here, since this is going to require talking back and forth to Google servers and whatnot, it asks if we want to set up a Wi-Fi network. I'm going to set up my 5 gigahertz network, and I'll go ahead and put my password in for that. And then we'll connect. Goes ahead and connects and authenticates, which takes just a minute. It checks that connection, and this is where we start waiting a little bit. So we're going to do some cuts so that you don't have to wait through the entire process, but we'll hit on all of the highlights. Next, and this is wonderful, if you are upgrading from one device to another device, and both of those devices have NFC and Bluetooth, you can simply tap one device to the back of the other, and it will transfer your account and settings over to the new device, so you don't even have to put in a username and password to do that. Now, I did that originally when I was going from my HTC Desire I, which we've covered it here a little bit at Pocketnow, and it transferred everything over. I didn't have to put in my my Google username, I didn't have to put in my Google password, I didn't have to do my 2-step verification because I had that trusted device that I was able to use. So we're going to go ahead and skip that because I don't want to use that device because I want to show you something else about it. At this point it's saying, okay, just a minute, let's go ahead and sign into your Google account, or we can skip that. So I'm going to put in my account here, and everybody knows how to get a hold of me all over the place. It goes out and sees what kind of login credential that I need. So at this point it's going to have me put in my password, and once I've done that, it says, hey, my account is protected by a 2-step verification, so I need to do that. I can either use the Google Authenticator app, which I just erased off my device when I reset it, or I can hit this problems with your code link, and that will let me authenticate in some other way. I can either get the code from the app, I can have it call my phone on file, which is this one, and that might be a little bit cumbersome, or have it send a text message, again, same problem, or use a backup code that I received from Google. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. From here, I will put in that 8-digit code and continue through. Once I've input that code, it will go through and check everything, make sure it's all kosher, and just a sec. Next, and this is really where the magic begins, this is going to go out and get my apps and my data. Data being a very operative word. It's going to easily set up my device for storing a backup from another device, and I have the option to choose which device I want to restore from. My Nexus 4, Nexus 5, the Desire I that I just told you about, the HTC One E8 that I did a versus comparison on, and some others. I like using the Nexus 4 that I had set up previously just for this purpose, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. It then also asks me from that device, what apps do you want me to include? And here are all of the apps that I had installed on that, so we're going to go ahead and let that install all 54 apps, and we will continue next. From here it's asking about my Google services, and other than a new skin, a new look and feel, this is essentially the same setup process that you've become familiar to if you've had an Android in the past. So we'll go ahead and continue next through that. I'm accepting all of the defaults there, and at that point we're at our tutorial, so okay to that. And now you can see that it's installing my applications and what all of my my settings are here. Let me go ahead and bump that brightness down for you so it's a little bit easier to see on camera. Once it does that, it's going to start setting everything up. You can see this is kind of the old launcher. It hasn't installed the Google Now launcher yet to install and configure that. So we're going to wait while it does that and be right back. The Google Now launcher has now installed. I just hit the home button and I am going to switch from launcher over to Google Now launcher, and I'm going to ask that that be always. That will be my default Launcher app. Now the first thing that you're going to notice is I've got my calendar over here, which is loading. I've got my icons all arranged in folders, including my dialer, which has the phone, has the contacts, and if you'll notice, this is my Hangouts dialer and it's grayed out. Okay, let's go ahead and look at some of the others. I've got Hangouts, I've got Gmail, over here I've got Chrome, I've got Google+, and Facebook and Twitter are there, but they're both grayed out. And then of course there's my camera. We don't need to see in there because that'll just show a picture of the keyboard. So come back here. And that's what I've got set up right now. I haven't opted into to Google Now on the far side, so it's not letting me go to that pane yet. But I'm still downloading and installing things, but it's configuring things exactly how I had them before, in addition to downloading the apps. So this just right here is very, very nice, and it works with widgets too, which is something that Android hasn't had very much of in the past, unless you got into some third-party launchers and whatnot. But now, if I had 10 different widgets across several different screens, those widget, at least placeholders, would be there until that app downloaded and installed. And in the case of beautiful widgets, I'd be able to tap on it and go ahead and configure that once it was installed. But like you're seeing here, until the app itself is installed, there's a grayed out placeholder there already occupying where that shortcut is going to be as soon as you get it downloaded and installed on your device. Now, the one thing that you are going to still have to do, and it's kind of a pain, and I wish they would do something about this, but I understand why they don't. If you come in and look at accounts, these are my accounts right now. As soon as Twitter and Facebook and whatnot install, I'm going to have those accounts in here as well. But I'm going to have to manually install, or manually put my credentials back into those settings instead of having them automatically filled in, being transferred over from my other device. Now, that's because it's not a good idea to put all of your passwords in one basket. There's some people who would argue that with password managers, and they have legitimate reasons to that. But in this case, where it's an automated restore, there are good legitimate reasons why we don't want to put all of our credentials into that one place so that they're all right there. You have to go back in and manually re-authenticate, which is probably a good thing in this context. I'm going to go ahead and let this continue to download, install, and configure all of the apps the same way that I had them in the past. It's a very nice thing that I can just set this down, walk away, and let it do its thing, and don't have to spend the next hour or two setting everything up the way that I liked it in the past. That's why it's my favorite new feature in Android Lollipop. More or less, that's the process that you'll go through and what you can expect when you switch to a new device running Lollipop from a previous device running another version of Android or Lollipop itself. If you like this, make sure you give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the new tips and tricks that we're going to have coming down the line. For Pocketnow, I'm Joe Levi. We will catch you next time.